Front rim, secure, not cracked or damaged. No illegal welds. All lug nuts are present, not missing. There's no shiny threads or rust trails, which would indicate a loose lug nut. Hub oil seal, properly secure. No missing nuts and bolts. No cracks, damages, or leakage. Valve stem, cap is present, secured, not cracked, damaged, or leaking. To check the air, I'm using air gauge, or I can strike my tire with a rubber mallet, making sure my air pressure breathes between 80 to 100 pounds of pressure. As far as the tire itself, I'm going to check the inner and the outer walls, making sure there's no cuts or bulges. Tread depth minimum, I'm going to check, of course. Up front would be 4/32, so 432 tread depth minimum up front. Recaps are not allowed, no recaps up front. Mud flaps secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. Steps to the passenger side of my vehicle, properly secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. DC only. You will explain that you would check the battery compartment. You would tell them you would open the case or the battery compartment itself, making sure all batteries are secured to the vehicle, cables are secured to the battery, and there's no excessive corrosion. Don't open the hood. Just saying, you would tell them I would open it. You know what I mean? Don't physically open it. Just tell them you would. Maryland don't do that. They took it out about 8 years ago, so we don't do it anymore. I don't know why. Exhaust. Properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks, damages, or leakage, such as carbon soot. Move on to my frame, as well as my cross members. Frame and cross members, properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. Go inside here in the middle and check my drive shaft, as well as my universal joint. Drive shaft and universal joint, properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. I would also like to make sure the universal joint is free of debris.
Where is the universal?
Where it connects. See this rod right here? Where it connects. That's the universal joint, U-joint. Before I move on, I always like to explain the set of instructions the examiners are going to give you guys. First of all, they're going to tell you have 45 minutes to do the pre-trip. I always explain that's plenty of time. Please take your time. With our pre-trip, like I was explaining earlier, as long as you do it like us, plenty of time. You know, even moving like a snail shouldn't be more than 20 minutes. Don't worry about that time. The people that rush, they tend to miss stuff, and you're going to probably fail. So go slow, take your time. They're going to tell you, do one side of the vehicle. If you notice, I'm doing a lot of stuff over here. They want you to do the passenger side of the vehicle. Yes, I had some engine parts on the driver's side, and I'll have some loose ends as I get around there when I get over there, but for the most part, we do everything over here. That's their instruction. They're going to say, do one side of the vehicle and just tell me that you would check the other side the same way. So that's what I'm doing here. They're going to tell you at any time, you feel free. If you got any questions, ask me. I'll try to answer your question as long as I'm not giving you an actual answer to the test. So if you're unsure about something, let them know. That's the one thing, that's their pet peeve. They can't stand it when a guy's out there willy-nilly, you know what I mean, doing something that has nothing to do with what she asked you to do or what they asked you to do. So if you're unsure of something, let them know. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. They'll try to rephrase it and make sure you understand what you need to do. Last but not least, they're going to tell you any repeat parts you come across. A whole bunch of repeat parts. Every axle is nothing but repeat stuff. So what they're saying is, come across any repeat parts, point at it as best you can, name it, and then tell me you would check it the same as the previous set. So in other words, this is what they want you to do. Brake hose, brake chamber, slack adjuster push rod, brake drums, brake linings, I'm checking. Same as the front. It's that simple. Still got to name it, but at least you don't have to give them those tedious details. We've already done that the first time. Suspension, front hanger, rear hanger, U-bolts, leaf springs, I'm checking. Same as the front. The only difference on this suspension, I have a torque arm. This is a new part. You got to give them details. Every new part. So torque arm is like everything else. Properly secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damage. They're going to mark the book. Bunch of repeat shit here. Rim, lug nuts, valve stem, wherever it's at, somewhere in there. Same as the front. They're going to mark the book. Only difference is
it's an axle.
I have an axle seal.
Can y'all send me this video if possible, please?
My phone don't do it. I try though.
I got you.
Please, thank you.
It's on the CD though, right?
Torque arm. Yeah, it's on the CD.
But it's not the same that we try. So please.
So, axle seal. Properly secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks, damages, or leakage. You got to give them details for that. That's a new part. That's a hub oil seal. This is an axle seal. All new parts must give detail. Tires, same as the front, inner outer walls, air pressure, I'm checking the same. The only difference back here, I do have dual tires, so I'm going to check in between for any debris. tread depth minimum in the rear is 2 30-seconds minimum. Good way to remember that is you have 2 tires, 232, and recaps are allowed in the rear. Mud flap looks nothing like the front. It's the same. So I'm checking this mud flap like that one. Mark the book. Tail lights, secure. There's nuts and bolts with cracks and damages. Proper color. That's all you need to tell me. Not to tell me what color. So, moving on to the trailer itself, I'm gonna check the frame and the deck of my trailer. Frame and deck properly secured. I'm missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. We go down the side of the trailer, checking all lights as well as my reflective tape. Lights and reflectors properly secured. We're missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. But also like to make sure these lights are the proper color. This is the one time, only time, you do have to specify proper color because there is a difference. Proper color would be red in the back, amber to the front. It's the one time you do have to specify. Tie downs, just point at a couple of them. Let them know you would check all tie downs down the side of the trailer, properly secured, missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damage. I always like to make a point of this. There is no nuts or bolts on this, but I like to be in the flow of just saying the same shit over and over. Even some guys that are real bad at it, I'll say leakage. Of course this don't leak, but because you don't say it on other parts, you need to just say it. You know what I mean? So if you're that guy, you know what I mean?
I am.
It's fine. It's fine. You can't. You're gonna pass. You know what I mean? That's all.
Pass.
The people that miss stuff, they're gonna be mad at themselves for not saying it. So that's just if you need that help. First axle of the trailer, we gotta name everything again. What happens is some people get on this rim and tire, forget all about the suspension, forget all about the brakes. It's a good way to fail. It's a lot of points right there. We gotta name all that stuff again. There's 5 brake parts you gotta name. Hose, brake chamber, slack adjuster, push rod, brake drums and brake linings. I'm checking. Same as the front. You're done. 4 suspension parts. Front hanger, rear hanger. I count that as 1. U-bolts, leaf springs, torque arm. Same as the back of the truck. You're done. Rim, lug nuts, valve stem, axle seal. I'm checking. Exactly like the back of that truck. Inner outer walls, air pressure. Checking in between the dual tires for debris. 232 minimum tread depth. Recaps are allowed. I would check all that stuff just like the back of the truck. You gotta name everything again.
You said valve what? You said something.
Valve stem.
Valve stem.
Valve stem. Last axle and everything included on this final axle, I would examine exactly as the previous axle. Ask the examiner politely, would you like me to demonstrate? So they don't want you to name anything on here, but what they do is when you ask them, would you like me to demonstrate, they're very nice. They might, if you've missed some items on the first go round, they might say, yeah, demonstrate, hoping you get to collect the points that you might have missed. Usually 9 times out of 10, what happens is you guys done a very good job. Unless you ask them, would you like me to check it? They'll say, you know what? Let's get out of this heat. Let's hurry up. Because they already, they know you got the points. Rear of the trailer, lights and reflectors, properly secured and missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages, proper color. If you notice, every time I talk about lights, I talk about reflectors. You better do them. If you don't do one and the other, you're not gonna. They're together. You know what I mean?
These are reflectors in the middle.
Yeah, reflective tape.
DOT reflector.
Oh, reflectors.
Reflective tape. Yep.
Okay.
These are all lights. Lights. All lights. You don't need to specify.
I don't.
And you don't gotta say free of condensation, right?
Nope. In Virginia, you do. Yeah, but nowhere else. Yeah, there's very slight differences, and that's why I asked who states from who. You know what I mean, to make sure I tell you guys the correct thing. Yeah. Just proper color, lights and reflectors, secure, not cracked or damaged. That's all they care about. Mud flaps. You don't even gotta say shit on those. Just tell them mud flaps. I'm checking like those. They're gonna mark the book. As long as you at one time get full detail. You know what I mean? That's all that matters. You did it once, you're good. When you approach this side of the vehicle, you got to explain to the examiner, I would check everything over here as I did over there so they can release those points to you. Keep in mind, if you miss items over there, you miss them over here too. Because you're saying, I would check everything, like if you half-assed it over there, you're saying, I would half-ass it over here too. I mean, not to sound like that, but you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the way they do it.
Yeah.
So make sure you do a good job. That's all. Take your time. Get everything right. We don't talk about this side. We do not have time to go everything over here. They're not going to stop you. They're going to be like, why ain't this person following my instructions? You know what I'm saying? They're just going to let that time go away. There is some stuff we still got to grab, like the landing gear. First of all, you're going to explain that it is in a properly raised position. Secondly, like everything else, it's secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damage. As well as my crank handle. Crank handle is properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages on that. Inside here, I'm going to go inside here and check my locking jaw, making sure it's securely around my kingpin. Locking jaw and kingpin are secure, not cracked, bent, or damaged. skid plate. It's actually this piece right here. Skid plate, properly secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. Apron, it's actually the trailer that sits on top of the skid plate. That's the apron, like you cook out or you put an apron. Properly secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. For both of those items, they also like to hear my skid plate and apron. I'm gonna check that there's no gap and it's well lubricated. It's a little extra you need to set. Locking pin, it's this pin right here. Yeah, that big thing right there. Locking pin, properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. Hitch release lever, or they accept release lever, but technically it's a hitch release lever. Secured in a locked position, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. Platform, it's actually this big triangle thing holding everything up right there. Platform and mounting bolts, they want to hear specifically mounting bolts. Might as well do them together. Platform mounting bolts, properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts.
The locking guy?
You can't just say bolts. You gotta say mounting bolts.
Yeah, they won't give you credit for bolts. Just like they won't give you credit for, you don't call these bolts, do you? They're lug nuts. They want to hear certain ones. They want to hear specifics. Just those two. The locking jaw is inside. You're gonna have to get under there and get in there if you want to do that. I just don't feel like it.
You just pointed.
Yeah, Maryland.
It's around the shank.
Yeah, kingpin.
Yeah.
So DC got to point at it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get in there and point at it. Header board. This is actually not a header board. Header board is the much taller version, but we get points for it. We snag every point we can get. Header board, it's like everything else, properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. Check all connections. They're real big about doing this stuff separately. A lot of people like to do all this at once. It's no good. They want everything done separately. Trailer side one time, truck side separately. All right. So in other words, this is how they want it. I would check all glad hands and electrical connections on the trailer side, properly secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks, damages, or leakage. Do the same for the truck side. Air connections, electrical connections on the truck side, properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks, damages, or leakage. As far as the airlines themselves, I'm listening and feeling, they like to hear that, I'm listening and feeling for the airlines themselves, making sure they're secure end to end or both ends, no missing nuts and bolts, CDL, no cracks, damages, or leakage. As far as the electric
you could say CDL just like that?
No, don't say CDL. I'm just telling you that's the short. You got to say cracks, damages. But yeah, that's the short version to make sure you say those three words. Electric line, secured both ends, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages, no melted or frayed wire. Melted and frayed wires are a good word for wires. Catwalk, properly secured, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks and damages. They also need to hear that it is free of debris. You don't want anything up there when that thing's spinning around, get you caught up. All right, fuel compartment. Cap is present, of course. Secure, not crack, damage, or leak. And I'm gonna do the same for the tank as well as the fuel lines. Fuel lines and fuel tanks properly secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks, damages, or leakage. Before I enter the cab, I will check that the door opens and closes freely. I'm also gonna make sure that it is securely hinged, top and bottom, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damage. Inside here, we'll check my handrail, secure, no missing nuts and bolts, no cracks or damages. While I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and knock out my emergency equipment. I have a fully charged ABC fire extinguisher. How I know, I'm gonna check the gauge, making sure it reads in the green. They wanna know how you know, it's a new thing, it's stupid. How I know, I'll check the gauge, making sure it reads in the green. I have 3 reflective triangles under the passenger seat, and I have extra fuses if needed. That would be all of my emergency equipment, those 3 items, that's it. 2 of you guys can go in on the other side. Actually, 3 of you guys can go on the other side, 1 guy can stay over here.
I stay over here.
This is all on the CD because I couldn't record it.
Yeah, it's all on CD. I know it could.
And is it the same truck or how is that going?
It's not the same truck, but it's the same parts.
Gotcha.
It's a little older truck, but it's the same parts. So whatever you remember on the DVD, you know it on this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same. Normally I have this box in there. One of y'all mind grabbing that box real quick and bringing it here in the middle? Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, my phone about to die, so I'm gonna have to just snap pictures.
Like I said,